We've all been there. You book a much-needed vacation, dreaming of paradise, only to find yourself surrounded by selfie sessions and sunburned bodies. So although it's not an easy task these days, I thought I'd share with you some tips on how to avoid the crowds so you can make the most of your escape. It was my birthday some time ago. I've never been much of a birthday person, to be honest, especially now that it reminds me that I'm getting older and that time flies. March came and it went in a blink, and now it's August. Age is a mentality, or so they say, but somehow I can't hide that I'm starting to make some kind of noise when I put my socks on, so is it really a mentality? Mila had the wonderful idea that in order for me to deal with the fact that I'm as close to 50 as to 20, a trip to Sicily would be the solution to all my problems. So she bought me a plane ticket and I had to agree, since I had no better plans that week. Oh, and I love Italy. So we flew into Palermo and stayed in Mondello, which used to be a fisherman's village, but is now quite touristic. Very touristic, I would say. But since it wasn't peak season, it was quite delightful. So that was a win. Which brings me to the idea that maybe I should share with you my top 5 pieces of advice for avoiding crowds when traveling, more or less. There are probably more ways to avoid the masses in this ever-growing traveling world, but I'm just gonna give you 5. If you have your own tips, I would love to hear them. Please understand that sometimes it just doesn't work out. There are a lot of people in this tiny planet, and this isn't a science. Also, this is not financial advice, it's just educational, so do what you will with this information. Number 1, avoid peak season. I know this is not possible for some of you, for example, parents. Your kids have to go to school, tennis practice, and a million other activities. Well, maybe just leave them with their grandparents. If not, just leave them alone, they'll be fine. He seemed to do just fine. So we managed to take advice number 1 into account, although May wasn't the best timing for me. It just wasn't right. The weeks before I had a crazy wedding followed by an even crazier bachelor party, which somehow got me sick. On the bright side, a cold is probably one of the best things you can catch at a bachelor party, but it made the flight miserable. I was really congested and my ear got clogged for several days. But it gave me a good chance to practice my Italian, so as soon as I got there, I went to the pharmacy. And it went something like this. Ciao, tutto bene? E questa è la farmacia?
Sì, è la farmacia.
Bene, ho un orecchio completamente tapato.
Poverino, metti una goccia di questo al giorno per il naso e poi respira forte.
Grazie.
Ciao.
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 Ciao. Easy.
So close. Driving in Italy is definitely an experience.
Sicily is a big island. My suggestion, pick an area, east or west, and really dive into it rather than trying to cover the whole thing, especially if you just have 5 days. But regardless of where you decide to stay in Sicily, just know you'll be doing quite a lot of driving since distances are quite long. Long hours on the road means there will be some karaoke sessions happening, so fingers crossed your travel companion, whoever that may be, is a decent singer. We drove a couple of hours down south to the Valley of the Temples to see some ruins, because what else would you do in Italy anyway? But first we made a quick stop at the beach to get our feet wet and soak up a little sunshine.
My ear is feeling better thanks to Mila singing, because she has the voice of an angel.
And it was there that I came across a wonderful friendship. A friendship that I will always remember. was a sad goodbye, but I will always remember these two fairy friends. They found our souls special. Or maybe it was Mila's secret chocolate stash she hides in her bag. But that doesn't really matter. We bonded.
Esto está asqueroso, tío. ¿Eres un Kleenex?
No.
Advice number 2, avoid major tourist spots. This one is tricky, because some places, like the pyramids of Giza, for example, are must-sees, and it's totally understandable if you don't want to miss that. Just be prepared for large crowds. But this leads us to the next piece of advice, which might help slightly in these situations. Advice number 3, wake up early. A quien madruga, Dios le ayuda. It's a saying we have here in Spain, and it means God helps those who rise early. And it's true. Not everyone dares to wake up early on vacation, so this might be your silver bullet. Visiting outside the usual schedule also counts in this section, just in case you aren't an early bird. So waiting for the last run, when things are about to close, is also a good idea. Especially for us Spaniards. Just let everyone else have their dinner thing at 7 p.m. while we're still hours away from even thinking about food. This is exactly what Mila and I took into account when visiting the Valley of the Temples. We waited for the last run. Located in Agrigento in southern Sicily, it's one of the most extraordinary ancient Greek sites in the world, with 7 temples, including the Temple of Concordia and the Temple of Hera. It's definitely a place you don't want to miss. The site was impressive, with a lot of people, but quite manageable, even though many of them didn't seem to understand the concept of personal space.
Ellos.
Standing in front of the Temple of Concordia, which was built somewhere between the year 440 and 430 BC, should be inspiring. Instead, it was completely eclipsed by Icarus' large sense of identity.
Mila is really bored.
Hola. Gracias por tu paciencia. Seguimos andando.
That day left us beat, and Mila had to practically drag me to bed in her arms. It was a long day, more than a 2-hour drive to Agrigento, 2 hours back, and a lot of walking. And I'm getting older, what can I say? So the next day it was time to chill. We spent a full day in Mondello, getting to know our home away from home for these days.
My mom used to have this car when I was like 7 years old. And then that car got on fire and it almost exploded.
I was blown away by how blue everything looked. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of brain power to say this. We're by the sea and the sky is blue, and I've definitely been to other beautiful beach destinations. But the blue here was just so vibrant. It's what they call the Mediterranean blue. It was here that Mila started to get very excited about a romance novel she was reading. As you can see, she was also quite excited to share it with you guys. But I told her this wasn't the right channel for that kind of content. was also the perfect time to try some Kodak Ektar, a film I personally enjoy. It's sharp, very clean, and has wonderful, vibrant and saturated colors, which I turned down slightly in the editing process. It's kind of like tequila. I love it, but sometimes you just have to take it easy. I especially love how the reds pop with this film.
Let's go. Oh, cactus.
Advice number 4, avoid social media. In today's world, everyone wants to go where everyone else is. So using social media as a tourist guide will probably take you to those top attractions that are not must-sees. So if we go back to advice number 2, avoid major tourist spots, I mostly refer to these kind of places, those that are not a must. So trendy restaurants, bars, famous beaches, and other places of interest that I can probably have the same experience elsewhere. So if you've seen it in social media quite a lot, it might be a bad sign. But it's easy to fall in the trap, and that's exactly what happened to us, more or less. We saw a Sicilian dream of a place, an old tuna factory, now a hotel with wonderful views surrounded by rocks, cliffs, and of course, the distinctive Mediterranean blue. An iconic place to have an Aperol Spritz. There was nothing wrong with it. It's as beautiful as we thought it would be, but also quite expensive for a swim in the sea. The good thing is, we took advice number 3 quite seriously that day and managed to get there before the crowd came, but they came fast. But we had a good swim and I managed to get some good images from the site. And that's the thing, in my opinion, this is not a must-see place.
Aquí se puede beber uno una cervecita tranquilamente.
Espresso. It burns. It's so hot. Casi me he quemado casi.
Advice number 5. Ask the locals. Don't be afraid to ask for recommendations. Whether it's a receptionist at the hotel or the lady who works at the bakery, the hidden gems suggested by locals are often far better and less crowded, if they're willing to share that information, of course. But if you come across as a responsible and respectful person, I'm sure they'll be kind enough to help you avoid tourist traps. After all, locals take pride in their hometown and will want you to leave with a great impression. Our last night in Mondello. We had started growing fond of this place, and May was definitely a good time to visit. We really enjoyed the old part of the town, especially this little supermarket. It was lovely, and the family who owned it was very friendly. 5 days in Sicily, what a great birthday present, just what I needed. But somehow I still couldn't get over the fact that my beard is getting whiter, or that sometimes I just don't understand what young kids are doing these days. It is what it is. But hey, our trip doesn't end here. We still had a whole day since our flight was leaving the next day at 10 p.m. So what was the plan? A few days ago, I woke up too late from my siesta, and I missed an archaeological site I really wanted to see. So I took into account advice number 3, rise and shine. So I headed west with one more roll of film left. A perfect plan.
Now, I have to go all the way up that hill. I have to walk all that.
I was especially excited for the ancient theater. I mean, having studied acting in college, I just had to see one.
So it's kind of like it's a long walk, eh? It's not... Yeah, it's gonna take me at least 20 minutes or so to get there. We will get there at some point.
It was actually quite a peaceful visit. I could even hear the birds instead of the usual tourist chatter, which was a good sign. The scenery was perfect, and I also realized how much walking those ancient civilizations had to do.
I'm doing all this walking, and I'm thinking, okay, if back in the day they had to do all this walking, what if you forgot something like right there?
I mean, did they have to build the theater all the way up that hill?
Let's go down, all the way down to the stage.
I managed to avoid the crowds, but seriously, what's up with the personal space? Also, actors.
Bravo.
You never know what will get you to Hollywood. And because you've been a good viewer and made it all the way up to this point, here's a bonus advice. be patient. We all want to go places, and chances are many places today are going to be crowded. So be patient. You'll have to deal with people doing yoga on the flight, or rude people cutting the line, or just being excessively loud. Whatever it may be, it's good to understand that these are the nuances of traveling, and that sometimes they make the best stories. So that's it. I don't have anything else to add. See you later, Eggface.